You know how it is. You start off with these tiny, well, no ambition whatsoever. It's always continued with a bit of no ambition, really. But you think, well, we'll do a bit of rehearsing, and then you think, oh, should we try and do a gig? And we were invited by Blackthorn, actually, to do a gig at the Paul Mahone about 10 years ago. And we just kind of stumbled along after that. And it's just been a laugh, actually. It's been great fun.
Get Radio Breakfast with Rich Smith.
We have chatted to so many fantastic, phenomenal bands, heard so much variety of music, so many different stories, and all just celebrating this fair county, which has been absolutely wonderful. And that continues this morning. And we're catching up right now with Simon from Beware This Boy. Good morning, Simon. How are you?
I'm very, very well. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thanks so much for joining us and being part of Band Week. Let's just jump in. Just tell us all about Beware This Boy.
Okay. We started, there were three of us actually, and we all played together in a covers band, which was fun for a while. About 10 years ago, I turned up at rehearsal and said, I've put together a couple of songs, and never expected anybody to say, well, let's have a listen to them. So they did have a listen to them, and they went, yeah, they're okay, actually. And so with two songs became 3 and 4, and then we only had an ambition really just to do a bit of rehearsing and make some original music. And it started to get a bit of sort of folky feel to it. And the drummer, Stuart Manley, was depping for a band called Blackthorn, who are no longer a band, I think, but they were a smashing band. And he met Sue Mallet, and she joined on fiddle. And we suddenly realized we had a bit of a sound. So you know how it is. You start off with these tiny, well, no ambition whatsoever. It's always continued with a bit of no ambition, really. But you think, well, we'll do a bit of rehearsing, and then you think, oh, should we try and do a gig? And we were invited by Blackthorn, actually, to do a gig at the Paul Mahone about 10 years ago. And we just kind of stumbled along after that. And it's just been a laugh, actually. It's been great fun.
Just sort of going back to that, you said you started sort of doing covers bands and doing all this kind of stuff. Did you always have that itch to write original music, or did that kind of come by kind of going, I'm sort of fed up of playing other people's music. I quite like to play something I've done.
Yeah, it did get to that, really. I mean, the funny thing is that there had been that itch, and I'd never been able to scratch it, really, in as much that I did put some songs together, over the years, and they were so awful they never saw the light of day. But these ones came along, and because the other guys said actually that they're kind of okay, we thought we'll run with them, really, because I think one of the things when you're putting something together, I suppose you'll know this, anything of a sort of creative context, one of the biggest enemies you've got in actually completing that work is yourself, because you kind of think, this isn't any good. And actually, maybe it's still not any good, but for 10 years, we've been banging it out there and playing around Oxford and down in Surrey and Wiltshire and around and about, and we've got away with it, and it's been great fun.
I think you're absolutely right, Simon, with that kind of inferiority complex that a lot of musicians have, that have got. I said it earlier on this week, I think, to someone, that they've probably got hard drives full of music that have never seen the light of day, that they've just remained there, or they've had noodlings on guitars and what have you, and they go, oh, I think that's quite good. Oh no, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it. And it's a brave decision to kind of put this music to people. Can you remember that time where you first played the music and sort of sum up that feeling about going, okay, right, this isn't a cover song, this is mine?
I can remember it. Yeah, we were in a studio called the Cold Room just outside Oxford, and I said, look, here it is. I'll knock this out. And it took me the song was 3 minutes long. And I think it took me about half an hour to actually play it, because I couldn't actually get anything in the right order. And they ran out, and they kind of looked at. There was a sort of drop jaw look, because there's only Stuart Manley and Chris Pritchard at the time were there, the bass player, and kind of drop jaw look, and they sort of looked at each other, and I thought, yeah, I was right all along. This really stuff's terrible. And they went, yeah, that's okay. How about if we try this or do this? And then and actually, that was so much the fun of it, was actually kind of dropping it and saying, look, there it is. Now what can we do with it? And in fact, it was their contribution. And I found this all the way through with the band. It was the contribution of the other members that actually turned a little, what was maybe a kind of faint spark of an idea into something that actually made some sort of sense, you know, and put new layers on it, which I could never have dreamt of, really, you know. So, but it's it was a fascinating process and thoroughly enjoyable, really.
No, of course, and the band has taken a little bit of a break, and now are you back rehearsing and recording new music?
No, we're not back rehearsing and recording new music. So what we did, I have to confess that, you know, COVID actually, I think with like many other people, I didn't want to mention that word, but I did. It hit everybody really hard, you know, in terms of the fact that there were no gigs. I did a couple of solo online things and stuff like that, and it breaks the magic in a way, and it's been quite difficult to reconnect that. So we've done a couple of duo things with just me and Sue on fiddle. I've done a couple of solo bits and bobs here and there. So I'm now doing some new material because, you know, over 10 years, although we've been introducing new material all the time, you get to a point where actually you get really quite tired of listening to it, I'm afraid. And when that happens, well, you can't possibly expect anybody else to listen to it. Because if your heart and soul's not in it, then forget it, you know. So you're going to get a kind of lukewarm reception at best. So I want to do some new stuff to make it interesting and then try and get everybody back, or people back together, because I maybe change the format a little bit, the context a little bit, and see where it goes from there.
Oh, well, exciting times then, and coming up.
I hope so.
Tell us a little bit about the single that we're going to play right now, Old Bones.
Yeah, Old Bones. Old Bones is, I wrote it actually a couple of years ago, and I tell you what it was, Rich, if I'm honest with you. I was I've been spending, I'm going to try and stop this, but a little bit too much time on social media. So, and everybody just moans all the time about everything. And they kind of moan about the country to an extent. And yeah, there's a lot wrong with it. We know that, but there's a heck of a lot that's right with it as well, you know. And Old Bones is kind of my little thought about it, because if I go on holiday, if I'm away for more than 2 weeks, I miss England, because I'm English, and I miss Brussels sprouts. You know, and I love it here. I love this country, and Oxfordshire and everything else. Buckinghamshire, I actually live in Buckinghamshire, just over the border. And so I want to write a song that's a bit more positive about it, really. You know, that actually said that, you know, this country's achieved a lot and we should be quite pleased with that. And let's stop beating ourselves up all the time, particularly the English.
It's nice to have some positivity. I'll be honest.
I tell you, it doesn't happen all the time, Rich.
Just before we play the song, you mentioned you're spending a lot of time on social media. Where can we find out a little bit more about you if you're popping into gigs and new music potentially happening very, very soon? Where can we find you?
Well, we've got a website, which is all the W's, bewarethisboy, all one word.co.uk. We're on Facebook. I'm going to stop using Twitter, so not on Twitter. But a lot of our stuff is on Spotify as well. So we've got this particular song's on Spotify and quite a few others. And it's always a great thrill to go onto the Spotify and actually found that somebody's listened to your music. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Even one, because I can look at the analysis and say, oh, look, that person lives in London. That's all you get, by the way. I absolutely love that. So if anybody wants to go onto Spotify and look up Beware This Boy, click on it. You don't have to listen to it. Just click on it and I'll get really excited. It'll get thrilled.
Brilliant. Simon, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure catching up with you, and thoroughly looking forward to playing this song right now, Beware This Boy.
Rich, before you do that, I just want to say what a brilliant initiative this is, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all the other people who've been on it to say thank you for taking the trouble to use a broadcast media to actually support local music. Brilliant, thank you. That's really humbling, Simon, and thank you so much for saying so. And you're absolutely right.
We have an opportunity to broadcast brilliant music, and there is so much of it in Oxfordshire. It's a no-brainer. Literally that's made my morning. Thank you so much. Let's get the sing along. Until the next time. Cheers, Simon. This is Beware This Boy and Old Bones on Get Radio.